The long-awaited passion project of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is finally here after all these years. Like most movies, this one will have a mid-credits scene revealing a huge surprise, and get this, it's already been spoiled by the lead star himself. In this video, we'll be talking about how The Rock might have spoiled his new movie, along with some of the early reviews it's received. First things first, what was that mid-credits scene? Before we begin, to those who've avoided spoilers up till now and want the surprise all to themselves, please be warned. Now that that's out of the way, social media has been buzzing about a surprise hero making a return to the end of the film. Who could it be? The answer is obvious and has been mentioned by Johnson himself in multiple interviews. The scene shows Henry Cavill finally reprising his role as Superman. It's been 5 years since he put the Kryptonian suit on back in Justice League. After finding out that Cavill is rumored to make a cameo in the film, fans are just exhilarated. A clip of the scene is circulating around Twitter, but even though we know that the Man of Steel is back, some of us want the actual moment to be a surprise. Coming up with how Johnson spoiled it for the fans. In multiple interviews, the actor has described his character as the most powerful and unstoppable force on this planet. He then adds that the most powerful and unstoppable force in the entire universe has been on the sidelines for too long. Johnson also said the same quote in his interview with Jimmy Fallon, where he talked about how he's been fighting for this project for over a decade. It also seems like The Rock wanted to send a cryptic message throughout the interview. Along with teasing an important cameo without spoiling who it actually was, he mentioned how he loved Superman 3 times in the 12-minute segment he had with Fallon. Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and The Flash were all mentioned just once. If the 50-year-old wanted it to be a secret and a surprise, no offense, but he's done a terrible job, which is completely fine. This is a great way to promote your film. Hey, if a person's been working on something for 1/5 of their life, they definitely use every method to boost ratings, no matter how unlawful it is. In many fan events, he teased fans of an epic battle between the Kryptonian and the god of Kahndaq. Though it strays away from who the actual nemesis of Adam is, fans just need that one adrenaline rush. Cameos aside, shouldn't we discuss whose enemy Black Adam really is? Following up with Black Adam and Shazam. It's common knowledge that one of Billy Batson's major enemies is the anti-hero of Kahndaq. The comics have described the history between the two in great detail, one of the most famous volumes being from the New 52. A few weeks ago, some news surfaced about how The Rock fought for his own film, even though he was supposed to star as the antagonist in the 2019 Shazam movie. Calling the act a disservice to the character, Johnson urged studios to give each hero their own origin story. The two go way back, even before Flashpoint, which served as a soft reboot to the comic universe. Both were given powers by the same wizard, uttering the magic words, and both share similar abilities. So it only makes sense to build up Adam as Shazam's foe in one of the sequels, right? If only it were that easy. Black Adam and Shazam's tones are very different, one being a dark and serious anti-hero while the other being lighthearted and hilarious. They wouldn't really translate well together in a movie, especially with how The Rock is literally thrice the size of Zachary Levi. Shazam is already exploring his own fun little universe with an upcoming sequel titled Fury of the Gods, where the Shazamily faces the villainous daughters of Atlas. But getting his own origin film isn't the only way Johnson fought for this project. Let's look at how hard The Rock worked for the cameo. For the past 15 years, the former WWE superstar has been fighting for this movie harder than any opponent he's faced in WrestleMania. Forget John Cena, Black Adam is the toughest challenge he's faced. From maintaining his extraordinary physique to pitching in different ideas, Dwayne is slowly cementing himself as one of the higher-ups in Warner Brothers. One issue was the unnecessary muscle padding on his suit that looked ridiculous on a practical level. Johnson, being the walking Hulk he is, didn't need the padding, and the attire you see on film is almost skin tight. The challenge was that he had to maintain a certain physique for 4 to 5 months. We just know that a movie with both The Rock and Cavill is going to give a couple of guys the motivation to hit the gym. Not to mention that in his interviews, Dwayne said he's been listening to the fans for the past 5 to 7 years who demand that huge battle between the two strongest powers in the universe. In his interview with Jimmy Fallon, he talked about how he gave the idea of the super cameo to the studio in charge of the film, and his team would not take no for an answer. Lastly, what does this mean for the future of the DCEU? With Henry finally returning as the last son of Krypton, it's safe to say that the DCEU is heading in a promising direction. We can all thank Dwayne Johnson, of course. Listening to the fans all these years has really paid off, hasn't it? Warner Brothers even announced that they're keen on making a sequel to Man of Steel and eyeing Mission Impossible director Christopher McQuarrie to take charge. Things will be very different now that the visionary director Zack Snyder is out of the picture, but if there's one person who can make an epic action-packed blockbuster, blockbuster, it's McQuarrie. Though the future sequel won't be on the same deep level as the one in 2013, fans are hoping for the best. Johnson talked about how this is the beginning of Phase 1 of the DC Universe and the first chapter of a huge story. Knowing Ben Affleck is returning as Batman in Aquaman 2, and Gal Gadot is keeping her role as Wonder Woman, who knows? Maybe we'll see the OG Trinity on the big screen again. Black Adam is finally in theaters after an endless wait. Everyone's hoping for a box office hit, and with a cameo, it just might be one. Before we end the video, let's look at some of the early reviews of the movies. Moving on to some of the reviews. First up, the dreaded Rotten Tomatoes score. Rotten Tomatoes is like the pitchfork of movies. They tend to give low scores to movies that are actually great, and high scores to average, money-grabbing blockbusters. Luckily, there's always the audience score sitting right beside the tomato meter. RT gave Black Adam a 45%, while the audience score is at 88%, with over 500 verified reviews. A lot of mixed opinions can be seen on the site, some saying it's entertaining, while others call it a bore. Usually reviews like these don't determine a movie's success, but after what happened to Zack Snyder's vision because of the negative criticism of Batman v Superman, you can never be so sure. As far as the popular film review sites go, IMDb gave it a 7.3 out of 10, which is a pretty good score for an origin story. Now for other reviews. After gathering a bunch of opinions from notable websites and magazines like The Hollywood Reporter, Collider, and IndieWire, the movie seems to be your average comic book film. Let's look at Deadline Hollywood's review, for example. Chief film critic Todd McCarthy described Black Adam as one that sets up the flag for its subsequent installments of adventures. The usual spectacle grabs your attention for 2 hours, as The Rock is the center of attention in every scene he's in. An interesting review by David Ehrlich of IndieWire commented on Johnson's acting, which has been labeled as stoic, emotionless, and rather too consistent for all his roles. Ehrlich wrote that The Rock can indeed act, but he doesn't want to, and wants the same level of praise that a child did back when he was an athlete. The verdict of all these articles gives the idea that Black Adam is neither the best DC movie, nor is it the worst. The film starring an unpopular character was a risky and brave move, so the cast and crew might as well be satisfied with the consensus. Finally, what does this mean for the movie? Average reviews by professional film critics can only mean that the studios will struggle to capitalize off the movie. IGN, one of the most reliable sources of entertainment, gave it a 5. A 5! Yes, these scores and ratings matter to the movie and cast, but it shouldn't let your opinion of something change. You can probably name like 10 movies that you adore, but are widely hated. So what are you waiting for? See Black Adam in theaters now and form your own opinion. And that's it for this video. If you've seen Black Adam, what are your thoughts on it? Leave your reviews in the comments below. As always, hit that like and subscribe button to see more of our content. See you in the next one. Shazam!